Hello everyone, welcome back to Touch the Fire Twice. I'm Joshua and I'm here today to do an in-depth sniff comparison review of the old classic returning favorite from Bath & Body Works White Barn Candle Company, which is Fresh Bamboo. This scent is from the vault, the Slatkin Co vaults from that partnership way back in the early mid-2000s with Bath & Body Works. And this scent, was a pretty standard release year after year during the Slatkin Co partnership at Bath & Body Works. And then for many, many years, it did not see the light of day. I'm not sure actually when it was last released at Bath & Body Works, but it's been quite a few years if I remember correctly. But it appeared in this collection, which is an interesting mix. I will say, first of all, the direction of the sort of the art direction, the label of this collection, I really enjoy. If you look up close, it almost looks like, it's kind of like a spa collection where it's as if you had like those little sand gardens with a little rake and you're just supposed to like rake the little sand gardens, or huge sand gardens if you were sort of in some spa that did it in different directions, just as sort of peaceful moments. This is embossed and they're just neutral colors, like a sort of a deep tealish green, a little bit of like sort of a soft mauve pink and a tan, and it just is, it's pretty, it's peaceful, got sort of the matte creamish gray lid, and then just the simple label. There are a handful of fragrances in this collection. I believe they internally refer to it as the Sanctuary Wovens, so sort of woven, but to me it looks like, sand that you've sort of raked. And the other fragrances are Coral Waves, Iced Dragon Fruit Tea, and Mahogany Vanilla, in addition to Fresh Bamboo. So again, like most recent collections, not super cohesive. This could be spa. Again, they're just calling it Sanctuary, but again, the idea of Coral Waves with like a fruity drink, with the Fresh Bamboo, with Mahogany Vanilla, opportunity to be cohesive, missed, but whatever. Anyhow, Fresh Bamboo, I was excited to see this back because this again is from the Slatkin Co era. So I'm gonna be doing a sniff comparison review again of this. First of all, again, sniff comparison review is I sniff it and then I compare it and sniff with other ones to do a review, right? And so I'll be comparing it to two Slatkin Co Bath & Body Works candles, and then also a ScentWorx candle from Slatkin Co, just to sort of contrast, compare. Obviously, this is a straight repackage, I will say, not even repackaged, just a straight, from the vault, same name, same notes, from the Slatkin Co Bath & Body Works. But there was another bamboo candle that was a failed test scent from Bath & Body Works during the Slatkin Co era. And then, of course, we have Bamboo Leaves from ScentWorx. So sniffing this one, first of all, the notes on this: sweet bamboo, lush jasmine, and wild grasses. Not a whole lot to go on, but straightforward enough. And this is a powerhouse scent. This is a knock you over scent. It is sort of, I suppose like East Asian tropical in a sense. Sanctuary is the collection name. Certainly Fresh Bamboo could lean toward a spa scent or some sort of, meditative scent, but it's very intensely strong. It's kind of a mix of one of those, it's not particularly, in my opinion, relaxing, but it's not super energizing. It's sort of uplifting, I suppose. So it's kind of a peaceful energy that you get from like a bamboo sort of scent. The notes, again, bamboo really, I hesitate to believe that bamboo itself has much of a scent other than just like super, super green. I've never actually like snapped a bamboo shoot to really understand that. And so they actually say that naturally it doesn't give off a strong odor. But again, typically when you're going to see it in home fragrance or body fragrance, it's going to be sort of a crisp, green, leafy, think of like cucumber, some of the bitterness you can get from cucumber, maybe a little bit of a citrus to it. That's what a bamboo accord is oftentimes going to come through with. This is very much dewy green, which is the bamboo. It's a very dewy green, sort of wet. Think of your grasses, think of any of your aquatic, beach grasses, refresh, renew and refresh, like those sort of dewy florals with greens. And then that jasmine, it's very heady. So it's sort of like exhilarating, intense, powerful jasmine. And in that sense, it's powdery, but it's not just towards like the kind that chokes you out powder, like, perfumey sort of powdery can be, or like, the granny powder, your Japanese cherry blossom, or just like very, very heavy, intense parfums that can sometimes be very heavily leaning toward a powdery floral. But though the jasmine is quite powdery in here, and I think maybe some other white flowers, but not necessarily white hot tropical, more like white spring dewy. The dewiness of, I suppose, the wild grasses and the bamboo, sort of the astringent green wetness that's also soft and floral in its own right, mixed with the jasmine, it really it kind of dampens the, you know, if you imagine in my head, visually I'm saying is like, you know, the pollen and all of the scent of notes of the jasmine just like floating through the air, and it's just like overwhelming with that rush of intenseness, as is pretty common with jasmine. But the bamboo, but it's also humid. It's like very humid in the jungle or in the air around you, and so it's kind of weighing it down just a little bit and softening the blow of something that's just a powdery, you know, floral bomb, right? And so it is again, for me, it's a bit nostalgic just because it is such a throwback to when Slatkin Co released it. But I really do like it. It's a very, you know, clean your house, very fresh, clean spring scent without being, though it is heavy on the jasmine, it doesn't read as floral the way that as flowers, if that makes any sense. So it's floral, but not flowers. It's not, you know, your rose bouquet or just your fresh cut lilacs or your garden blooms, that sort of thing. It's a heavily floral fragrance, but it doesn't read as just flowers due to the bamboo, the dewiness from that, and the grasses that come in with it as well. Really nice. I burned this once. Of course, really great performance, as you can see, strong throw, and just a classic. It's a great, like on the first slightly warm spring day or like a cool spring day, and you want that uplifting powerhouse scent to just sort of like, it feels like it cleans the space. Doesn't smell cleaner, but it's one of those scents that really feels like it hits every corner, and it is a reset of whatever scents you've got going on. So really a fan of it from that aspect. Then comparing it, as I like to do, to the OG, here we've got Slatkin Co Fresh Bamboo, very straightforward there. This was a pour from late 2010, though to my knowledge this was out for, you know, many years at Bath & Body Works in the Slatkin Co collections. Notes here: bright and modern, the essence of bamboo, sweetened with lush jasmine and wild grasses. Same three notes, but they mention that it's bright, that it's modern, and it's, again, the essence of bamboo. It's not literally bamboo. Sweetened with lush jasmine and wild grasses. The notes on this, that sentence is a little bit more descriptive accurately than just the three things on here. Sniffing it, I mean, granted, this is, what, 12 years old almost, and I haven't burned it for many years since then. But it's very clearly, first of all, on scent memory alone, okay, same scent, and sniffing it, I don't think they left anything out. It seems, as far as 12 years later, different materials, different suppliers, different literal blends of the wax formulation, the oil formulation, the kind of wicks that they use Bath & Body Works. Of course, it's going to be, slightly different, but this is probably the most direct relaunch of a scent. There are others like it that are direct launches, but as I said in my Slatkin Co From the Vault Hair Bring Them Back fall video, there is plenty of scents that Bath & Body Works re-releases that were Slatkin Co era scents that have just sort of been diluted a bit, that are just, they're shifted in what it actually is, and it doesn't really line up with the original, whereas this is a pretty straightforward interpretation or, again, relaunch of the original. The other to compare it to that, I don't even know how many of these candles exist, but this is from a collection. In fact, my very first video, going on, it'll be 10 years in June of 2022. June 2012, I uploaded it. And the reason I uploaded the video at the time was because I was just getting into understanding that, I'd been collecting Slatkin Co Bath & Body Works candles at that point for about 2.5 years. And I had realized that I lived near a test market at the time. I lived in New York City, and Paramus, New Jersey was a test market. So, would take the bus to Jersey before I had a car many of my years in New York didn't have a car, and saw this what I call the Golded collection. This was before White Barn was brought back to Bath & Body Works, and so this is literally a gold lid that says Slatkin Co on it. So I refer to it as the Gold Lid Aromatherapy Collection. And what was so fascinating from just a marketing standpoint, maybe I'll even do like a 10th anniversary kind of like re-review of my original review in a sense, in June, because I found it so fascinating, especially knowing what I know now. I still find it really interesting from a marketing standpoint that they did two different but extremely similar gold lid aromatherapy collections. Both failed, I believe. So there was a fall 2011 that was about maybe 8 or 9 scents, and it was all basically like hope, flirt, dream, peace, joy, sort of adjectives, descriptives. They're supposed to make you feel a certain thing. And then a few notes. They were gold lid, they were all white wax. The descriptors were pretty straightforward. They were aromatherapy in style, but they were not the Bath & Body Works aromatherapy signature collection. The art direction I really enjoyed. There was some image on there that represented what it was, and then again the note of what it was supposed to evoke for you, and then the notes from the bottom were listed along here. As you can see, this one was Hope, why it's in this video, lighten the spirit with jasmine and bamboo. So I'm like, oh, jasmine and bamboo, that's pretty close. But what's interesting is there was also, it said white peach just in the background there, if you can see. So most of these collections, there were like 2 or 3 notes on the bottom and one extra note that wasn't listed there that's here. So 2011 came out, it failed. And then spring 2012, they tried it again. At this point, this is actually from the second one. The first one was called Slatkin Co Aromatherapy Home. Then when they relaunched it, there were fewer scents. It leaned a little bit more mainstream. That's Bath & Body Works. It was like, okay, let's take out the ones that are a little bit odd, a little bit out there, a little weird. They relaunched it as The Good Life. Again, a bit more mainstream, and I don't think that even went wide. If it did, it was not very successful. It didn't continue to come back. That's my little side history lesson for Slatkin Co BBW. And this is much lighter. You can get the bamboo, you can get the jasmine. I don't necessarily get peach. This is much more palatable for if someone would smell fresh bamboo, go, oh, that's too strong. They'd smell this and they go, okay, that's nice, that's sweet. It's like fresh bamboo at like 30% intensity. It's not the astringency, it doesn't have the depth of the green. The floral is way toned down. It's all softened. It almost leans a little soapy to me, like bar soap. It's okay, but that's why I didn't burn it. Anyhow, certainly not this one, but interesting to compare. And then finally, I'm actually burning this one right now. I know Bonnie, Queen of the Girl Geeks, does this in her videos sometimes, and people yell at her that you're not supposed to lift a lit candle, but this one's pretty safe because it's low. So this is ScentWorx, initially by Harry Slatkin, now ScentWorx by Slatkin Co, available at primarily Kohl's. And so this one, the notes on here, easy does it, bamboo, green leaves, hyacinth, and sheer amber. So interesting. The reason I have this lit right now is because, again, I bought this probably about 2 years ago. It's 2/3 of the way gone. When I sniffed it, lifted the lid, I just wasn't getting much other than the burnt smell. It's not terribly burnt. There was a little bit of sooting on the inside of the jar. I may blow it out and just gonna show you all inside the lid here. There was some sooting. You can see around the edges of the burns. So not ideal. And then sniff on this one. It's almost like a mix between the Fresh Bamboo original and a bit of this one here, where it's I really like it, but it is a bit more mainstream in the sense that palatable, where it doesn't knock you over the head with the jasmine. The bamboo is there. It is maybe almost more relaxing than the uplifting version that we get from the original Slatkin Co here, and then the, out of the vaults from Bath & Body Works, White Barn. Yeah, comparatively, I would say very, very similar, in fact, to really this one, I would say. Again, I'm getting mostly burnt wicks on this one at this point, so can't do a direct compare. Although I will say when I smell this, and even when I smell this one, the idea of hyacinth, it's one of those spring, again, a very heady flower. They're not white, but it's the idea of like kind of that white floral. Not your hot white, tiare, sunrise kind of summer scents, but definitely that intense, heady, magnolia, intoxicating almost sort of scent. And I could see almost hyacinth being in here as well. Sheer amber, I don't necessarily get amber, but it is such an intense candle that it wouldn't surprise me if there were some in there when it comes to the true original Fresh Bamboo. With this one, if there's a sheer amber, it's a very soft, that thin veil of amber that just adds a depth to the bottom. So my point being, this is really just an exploratory of different bamboo scents from Slatkin Co over the years. My favorite of them certainly is the original, but again, when I say original, I really do mean both of these, because I will say it burned well, great throw, just as strong. So if you're a fan of that, if you want those really strong spa-like, uplifting, fresh, clean scents with getting some florals in there without it being flowery, this would definitely be a scent for you. So let me know what you think of it. If there's another way that you would sort of another vibe or mood you would give to this candle, or when you like to burn it, or what value you find in it. Would love to hear what you think. And until next time, take care.